Alright guys, so welcome back. So in this video we're just going to be doing some class examples which covers the concepts we've discussed before, namely variable and fixed costs as well as mixed costs. So in this video we're going to be doing two examples. Example 1 reads as follows. Suppose UWC decided to introduce a new course, a master's degree in management accounting. The number of students accepted on the course is expected to vary from 15 to 20. The master's degree will require students to complete 1 year of coursework, which includes writing and passing 3 term tests and 1 final exam. The university will supply each student with course notes and lecture notes. The cost of this will be $400 per student. In addition to writing the tests and exams, each student must also submit a thesis. Each student writing a thesis is supervised by a university lecturer who is paid a supervisor's fee of $5,000 for each student supervised. Each thesis is marked by 2 markers and each marker is paid $1,000 per thesis supervised. So the required here is to calculate and discuss the variable and fixed components of the new master's degree. So if we look at cost for cost, so the first cost in here is the $400 per student. So remember the definition, variable changes with the number of units produced or units sold, whereas fixed does not change with units produced or units sold. So the cost of the stationery is $400 per student. So as you can see, as I hope that you can see, that the more students there are, the more we'll have to pay for the stationery, because that 400 will be multiplied with the number of students. So therefore that 400 is definitely a variable cost. The next cost is the thesis supervision, which is $5,000 for each student supervised. Again, for every student there will be a $5,000 fee that's payable. So this $5,000 will be multiplied by the number of students. So therefore this $5,000 will be a variable cost. And then it says each thesis is marked by 2 markers. Each marker is paid $1,000 per thesis mark. So I think one can assume that all students will submit a thesis. And so therefore for every thesis submitted there will be $1,000 per thesis marked, each marker. So effectively it will be 2 times 1,000 times number of students, but effectively the more students that there are, the more we'll have to pay this 1,000 effectively. So this 1,000 is also a variable cost because it changes with the number of students. So all of these costs, the course notes, the supervisor fee, as well as the marking of the thesis, are all variable costs because it changes with the number of students. Right, so in this example that will come to a total of $400 for the stationery, $5,000 for the supervisor, and remember there's 2 markers per thesis, so that gives you a total of $2,000. So in total we have $7,400 and they are all variable costs. Okay, second example, basically similar information other than the cost of running the course. In example 1, certain other costs may be incurred to run the course. The class will be lectured by a retired professor. Will be paid $200,000 for the year to lecture up to 20 students. There will also be a number of guest lecturers who will collectively be paid $10,000 for the year. So calculate and discuss the variable and fixed components of the new master's degree. So the solution here is, let's just go to these costs. The $200,000 will be paid for up to 20 students. So if there's 1 student or if there's 20 students, they will still be paid $200,000. So the $200,000 is a fixed cost because it's unresponsive to the number of students. As well as the guest lectures, they will also still be paid $10,000, and it's also unresponsive to the number of students. So in example 2, the costs introduced in example 2 are fixed costs as they will be incurred regardless of the number of students, just importantly within a range of 0 to 20 students. There was too little information in this question, but in other questions they may say, well, if there's more than 20 students there's a extra fee payable, but in this question they just mentioned the up to 20. So within the range of 20 students we effectively have a fixed cost, and so therefore the example 2 we have $200,000 for the retired professor and $10,000 for the guest lectures, and so therefore our fixed cost in example 2 will amount to $210,000, and all of these costs are fixed costs. Alright, So while we're on this, I just want to talk about instances where it may not be so easy to identify whether something is fixed or variable. I think example 1 and example 2 was quite easy. So while we're on this point, I want to give you a 4-step approach to always get the variable and the fixed cost component right. So step 1 is to ask yourself, what is the cost driver or sales driver? In other words, what is going to cause total cost or total sales to increase? So that is typically the number of units sold or produced. And then step 2 is ask yourself whether the cost in question, whatever the cost will be, is influenced by step 1, which is the sales driver. And if it is influenced by the sales driver, then, in other words, if your answer to step 2 is yes, then you have a variable cost. If your answer to step 2 is no, then you have a fixed cost. So we're going to apply the 4-step approach into more advanced examples to show you that sometimes you may not get the variable and fixed cost right.